Well, hello and welcome. My name is Paula Robbins. I am the founder of ConsciousPreneurs International, and I am so excited today to be with a dear friend of mine, Debra Berndt Maldanado. For those of you who know anything about my story, I've referenced Debra numerous times as the inspiration that got me started as a hypnotherapist. So I met her in 2006. I went to see her as a hypnotherapist when she was working in that field here in Denver. And in my very first conversation, just one visit, before I ever did any hypnotherapy, I knew right away, just from chatting with her, this was the path I was going to step on. So you've been such an inspiration. I'm so elated to be with you today. Thank you for making this time, and welcome, Debra.
Thank you. It's so great to be here. And I remember that conversation very well. I remember you sitting in my chair and just being, I think I want to do this. You were just looking around the office going, this looks good.
Yeah. I mean, it's been truly just such the perfect path. I say it to so many people when I'm with them that I'm in the right chair.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm really walking the walk I'm supposed to. So
you were meant to do this.
Thank you. I really was. And as were you. I mean, we had just a really cool journey together, and it's been really cool to watch your path. So for my audience, they are typically consciouspreneurs like you and I. And I would love for you to share with them a little bit about what has your journey been. So you were in corporate America, and then you became a consciouspreneur. What are you doing now? Give us a little bit of your story.
Well, I was in the corporate, I moved to Colorado when I was 29, thinking I want to change my life some way. I worked in MTV networks in New York City. I worked, exciting job, but it wasn't fulfilling. And I just was searching for something. And you know how that feeling is. You just know you're like searching. So I went to massage school and I was like, no, that's not it. I did energy work. I'm like, that's not it. I wanted something intellectually stimulating. And then, I just kept looking and looking. And then I got laid off from my job when I was 40 or 39. And 10 years later, I was still searching. And I just knew, because I had researched hypnotherapy, and I knew that that's where I wanted to go. And actually I had the pamphlet from my school arrived 2 days before I was laid off at my house. And I remember looking at it going, I need to do this. I need to get out of this world. And then 2 days later I was laid off, and I just knew exactly that it was perfect. And it was like my time was, over in the corporate world. And so, I just was so determined to make it work. And I always had the backup if I could go back into the corporate world if I needed a job. But I said, I'm going to make this work. And, it's like that takeoff is so, at first, so there's a lot of pressure. There's like a lot of doubt. You're learning something new. You're not confident in anything. Can I really do this? But I pushed through and really started, a very successful practice in Denver. And then it started going on the news in Denver. I just pitched the Channel 7, and I said, hey, I want to talk about hypnosis. And they had me on every month. And so I started getting clients that way. I sold CDs online. And since my background was internet marketing, that's what I did for this company. It was a yoga company, and I was the director of internet marketing. So I basically knew what I needed to do. And it was easier for me in that way because I had that background. And then I met Rob, and then we moved to New York. And then I just had to change again and shift from being a hypnotherapist to being a coach because of the laws in New York are different. And then also I was doing everything online virtually, and it just helped really launch my virtual business. And so we've been doing that since 2008 together. And so it's 12 years later, and Rob and I are working together. My husband's a psychologist. And so he brought in some extra information and teachings that I didn't have with my hypnotherapy training. So we put two together and started teaching together. So it's really wonderful. I got a book published, Let Love In. I got it published by Wiley, which was, everyone told me, you're never going to get a book published by a big publisher. You're just a hypnotherapist. And I said, watch me.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people ask me, like, what makes you successful? And I said, I just never gave up. Even when times were hard or I didn't know where I was going, I just kept saying, I never gave up. I just kept pushing through. And I think that's really the journey I'm always on. And then eventually when Rob and I decided that we were working together, I said, well, why do we have to be in New York? It's cold and snowy. Let's move to California. So we moved here about 7 years ago now. And we live right on Hermosa Beach, right by Redondo Beach, where you just were. And so I feel like I live like a life is like a dream now. And it all came from that decision of like stepping out, knowing what I wanted to do, and not letting anything stop me. And I think that's the key, because in your heart and your soul, if you are meant to do something, the universe will help you, you know, but you have to get out of your own way, and you have to be willing to commit to it. And I think that's the key. And here I am. We have a company now. We train life coaches in our company based on our Jungian coaching model. So we teach them shadow work, dream interpretation, visualization, and how to work with the archetypes and collective unconscious. So it's very, very deep work in coaching. And so it's really powerful. And for us, it's constant growth. And we just are so amazed at the people we get to work with and the changes they see. And it's just been great. And then someone like you, you know, 12 years later, 14 years later, saying, you helped me, you know, step into my power. Like for me, that's so rewarding. It's such a reward to see the people that I've inspired by being who I am. So it's very important for a conscious entrepreneur, knowing that it's not just about just you, but the people around you that they can grow and learn from.
Yeah, that's been my experience too. And it's been just such a fascinating journey. I mean, I reflect back, and our story is quite similar. It was so synchronistic. I was 39 years old.
Oh, that's right.
When I met you, and it was time for me to shift. I call it a midlife awakening because I don't like midlife crisis, but it was just the perfect timing. And I tell a lot of people this. I met you, I found the inspiration. I had office space for free for 2 years. I had all this money for all the tuition and the transition. I got that phone call from one of my dear friends, literally 30 minutes after I resigned, to say, hey, I need a consultant part-time. Can you do this while you're building your business? I mean, everything came together so perfectly. So, you know, and it very similar to your own story. And I love what you're doing now. I love this beautiful pathway of just living this ideal life. And I love the book, Let Love In. I think that's a really powerful message for anybody who has kind of struggled in the being single, but not wanting to be single, trying to identify the soulmate and really allowing their energy to open to that space. Are you in the process? Are you and Rob writing another book at all?
Yes, we are. We're hopefully finishing it this month. It's called Empower Your Relationships for Love. And it's actually based on our new work, which is the 4 feminine archetypes that were developed by Tony Wolfe, who was a colleague of Jung and a mistress of Jung. And she talks about women and the roles that they take on, and how we unconsciously fall into these roles, and how whatever role you choose dictates the type of relationships that the men you attract or the partners you attract. And we're going to talk about the shadow side of that, and how you really unconsciously are falling into these roles by default because how you were conditioned, and how to get out of it and really incorporate all 4. Because a woman should be a whole woman, not just one role. And so it's about expanding the sense of who you are to all of you. So it's pretty cool. We're excited.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So what inspired you to work in this space of love and relationships?
Because I was single forever. I didn't meet Rob until I was 41. I actually started working in love and relationships before I met him. I wrote the book initially, the first drafts before I met him, because it was such a like deep, you know, pain in my life, because everything else was working for me. Everything came easy. I had great friends. I always had success, and I just never had that love. And I just struggled in relationships so much. And then I just felt like people were always coming to me, asking me for advice. I would be reading all the relationship books. And then when I met Rob, I was even more inspired, because I was like, okay, I really can understand what was stopping me, and I want to help other women. And so, you know, my Facebook feed is filled with women that I've worked with over the years that, you know, I remember them coming to me crying, going, I'm never going to meet them. And there they are with their kids or their new babies, or their, you know, and it's just it fills my heart, because love is so important. Like, people don't realize that for someone who's single, if you've never been single and wanting to be in a relationship, you feel like ostracized, and you feel like something's wrong with you, or somewhat, you know, that, you know, you weren't chosen. And there's such a bunch of bad stuff out there about dating and be someone else. And it really is demeaning and, suppressive to women, a lot of the things that they teach. And I just want to be a voice of reason and inspiration to women that if I am the messed up relationship girl and I found love, you can do that too. And so it's really, really wonderful to be able to do that. And now we have a special love coach training that we're training people in now as well because of the work.
Very cool. So you've been working then as a ConsciousPreneur since when? What year did
2003.
2003.
Yes.
So if you can identify one, what would be like one of the most fulfilling experiences that you've had on this path as you've contributed to others? I know there's many. I'm one of them, but
yes. Well, I was thinking about the one person that I feel like I changed, but it's like I can't even pick one because there's so many that not I changed, but that can't cross my path. I think I think one of the people that I do feel like that are most for my heart are the people that I feel like had the same struggle I did with love. And then they met that person and how they became different. They brought something different to the relationship. So they were able to have, the love that they deserved and to see them thrive and be happy and just joyful in life. And it just feels like sometimes it's like a heavy burden. Like, am I ever going to meet that person? And to see that lifted off someone. And then what happens is most of our clients end up wanting to be coaches or wanting to do something different because they want to change their life. And they realize who they really are. And so I think, when I do our events, and we just did an event in Austin, and we just sat there and looked at the room of all these women that were just so incredible, and just feeling that honor that they trust us, and they're just such incredible people, and that they're going to go out in the world and have a ripple effect. And so it's really hard to pinpoint one moment because it's just a whole life that I feel that we live this life. And when we have our coach trainings, we have people at our house. Rob and I always say our clients we feel closer to them than our own family, because they're on the path that, of higher consciousness. They're aware, they're just up to something in life. And so it just feels so wonderful to have them as colleagues and clients. It's just amazing.
I completely agree. It's part of the reason that I created ConsciousPreneurs International, was to collaborate with others, who are on this same path of, we want to make an impact in the world. We want to serve the greater good. We really want to help people live their best life. And it's such an amazing and honoring journey. So I really love it. And I just wanted to say that I too really struggled in the relationship arena for many, many years. And I met my guy 2 years ago. Well, 3 years ago, it's a long story, but 2 years ago we got together. And what was the most fascinating part about that, to speak to the same tune, is it had a lot to do with what inner work was I willing to really dig into. And when I really did my work, and I really did a lot more of okay, am I loving and honoring myself in order to contribute in a loving dynamic? And when I got to the place I needed to, it was like magic. The bond that we've created, the resonance that we have together is amazing. So
and it really is that we call it the pre-attraction mindset. It's not it's what you bring into the relationship. Not the guy's not going to bring you anything. He's going to basically uncover anything that you need that you didn't look at before. So it's so you have to be ready for that. And if you want a real conscious relationship, so yeah, it's rewarding. Warren Buffett said the most important decision you'll ever make in your life is who you partner with or who you marry, because they do have big impact on your success and your life and your happiness. And
really,
we're meant
really
to be with someone awesome, but empowered in that relationship.
And for anyone who's watching, I'm going to do my best to make sure that you have easy access to not only the book that's already in publication, Let Love In. I'll make sure there's a link so that you know how to get to it. But also when the new book comes out, I'll make sure that you've got access to this for the book that Debra and Rob are collaborating on together. So
Cool.
that'll be good. Yeah. So as a consciouspreneur, one of the reasons I created the ConsciousPreneurs International membership and the Prosperity Academy is to really help other consciouspreneurs become aware of they can be successful. They can really blend together conscious, impactful, fulfilling work and prosperity. What would be one piece of advice, if you could think of something you would want to offer to other consciouspreneurs that you think they would benefit from hearing from you after many, many years of doing this work?
Well, I think the one thing that we always say is that personal growth precedes business growth. And you really need to continuously, it's not work on yourself, but continuously expand your consciousness. You have to continuously be willing to look at yourself and grow and understand more. Like a lot of people think, well, I've done enough work and I'm going to go teach it now. You have to be in constant growth mode. Your psyche is dynamic. It's not static. It doesn't like get rid of things and then you're done. It's constantly picking up new things. It's constantly feeding, wanting to grow. The divine in you wants to expand that consciousness. The ego's pushing back. And that, every time you approach your business or approach a struggle in a business, it's a growth opportunity. It really, what we teach our coaches is that don't use personal growth to grow your business. Use the business for your personal growth. So make your growth the goal and the business will take care of itself. So you use the tactics or the resistance that comes up with, I don't like technology, or I don't know if I could sell, and say, okay, I'm going to use that to grow. But you don't go, oh, well, I'm going to use it to grow so I can make money. Because that you're actually using spiritual principles for material gain. So you have to flip it. You have to use material desires for spiritual awakening. And so that would be my advice. It kind of flips it a little bit. And then you don't have to worry about all that, conflicts with money and wealth and all the, spiritual people have about, like rich people are bad or money is evil and all that stuff.
Well, and I think that one of the things that most spiritual people and conscious entrepreneurs really want is the opportunity to make an impact in the world. But that's what prosperity financially does for us, is it allows us the opportunity to create a better impact. I mean, if I could write it down, all of the money that I've invested into not only my business and the technology and the learning and facing the resistance because it's there, but into what do I need to do to make sure that I'm sound and grounded as I walk that path? Because the way that I frame it is that when you face something, it basically makes room for something that's a little deeper to show itself. That's the path of healing work.
The unconscious shows up.
Yes, that's the path of growing your consciousness. Face what's in front of you and then allow what's underneath to surface when you're ready. Because there is something more.
Yes, I totally agree. And it comes down to that is that a lot of people, especially the spiritual community, what I've seen is they trade coaching or they trade services and they offer, they feel guilty about charging. You have to invest in yourself. You have to hire a coach, join your program, do something that actually puts your skin in the game, or you're not going to take it seriously. You're not really saying you're committed. And you have to stretch it. If you just do a little $100 course and think it's going to change your life, you're not really fully believing in it. And so one of my biggest things is that, I hire the best of the best, and it's stretched sometimes for investment, but it kind of puts the seed in my mind that I believe that I can succeed. I believe it's going to come back to me. So when you look at how you invest in your business and your personal development, you have to say, do you believe that do you really believe it's a litmus test how successful, how much faith you have in your success. If you don't believe it, you're going to spend a little bit of money. If you do believe it, you're going to invest and you're going to go, yes, I do believe it. And that in itself creates abundance and prosperity, because you're sharing people that are giving you spiritual food. You're nourishing other people that are providing for you, and then you're getting it back. And it's like a cycle of energy. It's not just, if you're counting your little nuts, just going, well, I'll do a little bit here. That's what your business is going to be like. It'll feel like it's never getting taken off. And sometimes you have to take a big risk and spend a lot of money, do your research, but don't hesitate, because if you believe in it, the prosperity will come.
That is something that has been my experience over and over and over. I mean, and I think a lot of it has to do with worthiness. You know, am I worthy of carrying a big message? Am I worthy of creating a big impact? Are you sure? And it always comes back down to the Marianne Williamson poem, Our Greatest Fear. You know, it's not of our darkness, it's of our light. You know? And so my question to so many people, like, well, I just don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I'm the right person. I don't know if if I'm really, am I right for this? Or am I capable of this? I'm like, who are you not to try? Because I've invested too, big time. And it's been a stretch. And it's been a stretch on my confidence. It's been a stretch on my finances. It's been a stretch on my energy. And it's been worth every single bit of it. The growth has been so expansive. And so I definitely, it's one of the reasons that I created the membership in the Academy, was to really get out there and help other consciouspreneurs see their worth and see their ability to make an impact, because we're needed in the world. We hear it all the time. Consciousness is rising, and it is. There is a rise in the consciousness, I think, all around the world. And so those of us who are on the path of a conscious entrepreneurial message, we're needed. We need to take care of ourselves and our businesses and get our message really traveling.
Yeah, I agree. I think when people ask that question, am I worthy? They're talking about their ego. They're looking at themselves from their past experience, and they're not really seeing that who they really are is not anything about their personality or their experience. There's something much deeper. And if they have a desire for it, the divine in them has a desire for it. And so I always say it's actually from Wallace Wattles. He said, the divine in you is wanting to express itself through you. It's through you, not you doing it. It's the divine that's doing it. So you're just a vehicle. Stop your ego's getting in the way of the divine actually having the work. And I actually think that's kind of selfish. And we need to be selfless. We need to be willing to put ourselves out there. And you see some people, they'll put themselves out there. They face criticism. They have to face, it's a bigger role to play. And so, but what else are you going to do? You're going to be comfortable, and then at the end of your life say, I wish I should have done it differently. There's nowhere to fall. The divine is carrying you, and it's just, you just have to keep stepping into it and following that. And I think that's the key.
And that's the, I say this statement all the time. Of every religious doctrine that's ever been written, and it doesn't matter which religion, it doesn't matter which book, there's two common threads. All of them speak about divine light, every one of them. And all of them speak about faith and trust. Just fall back and trust. And I can't speak to, literally, I could tell so many stories of when I've done that, how I've been caught and I've been held and I've been lifted and I've been moved forward every single time. So we do have to trust, and we do have to rely on that divinity.
Yes, and know that our ego is just not who we are. So that's it's like growing beyond that.
Well, such an honor to visit with you. So grateful for your message and your work in the world, and
you too.
And introduction to this path for me. I've been so just grateful to walk it and to know you all of these years. And how do we find you? Tell us, how would you like us to reach out? Is there anything that you'd like to share as far as your website or what you've got going to train the coaches? What would you like us to know?
Well, we do have, our website is creativemindmethod.com. That's the method that we use. It's the name, you could do that, or you can look for us on Facebook too. We have a page that has all of our stuff. We actually have a free Facebook group for free coaching. So people go in there and we talk about all different topics, love, success. And we have our team of coaches in there. So if people want to, delve into our work, we have some little free video classes And yeah, we're really recruiting new coaches. So we're looking for people who want to be coaches or want to be trained as coaches. A lot of people, they might have gotten basic training, or maybe they're hypnotherapists and they've never done coach training. It's perfect because it kind of blends the visualizations and the depth work with a coaching model, so they can go out there and really have just like some practical tools and a system that they can use for their clients. And
Great.
yeah, and it's great exploration of psychology and Jung's work with the shadow.
And is the Facebook group Creative Mind Method also?
It's called Creative Mind Coaching.
Okay. I will be sure that that's in the information when I share the video, so everybody will be able to find the links pretty easily.
Excellent. Good.
Well, again, thank you so much for just everything. I so appreciate this time that you've shared today. There's no mistake that you were on my path 14 years ago when it was time for me to make such a big change. I was praying for several months before I met you. God, where do you want me to be? I know it's time for me to do something. And I'll never forget that conversation and that moment of just boom.
And I've seen like thousands of clients, and I do remember you specifically in that moment. So it must have been a very profound moment, that because it sticks in my mind. I mean, I could picture it as if it was yesterday. So, and I'm just so happy for you for all your success, and just wonderful connecting with you again.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So good to see you.
Good to see you too. Take care.
Take care.